Welcome to This Explainer. Today we are diving into 20 years of literally groundbreaking research by Professor Toshitaka Suzuki to uncover a mind-blowing revelation about animal language. You know, for a long time, movies and digital media have portrayed animals as if they're just chatting with each other exactly like we do, but in the actual scientific community, that has absolutely never been the case. Professor Suzuki is actually the first person in the world to provide hard, conclusive evidence that birds use language, and specifically grammar, to communicate. So let's dive into this huge assumption for a second. This idea actually goes all the way back to Aristotle, who firmly argued that only humans were capable of complex speech. I mean, it's a belief that has persisted for 2 entire millennia. We've spent centuries basically resting on the assumption that an animal's cry is nothing more than an involuntary reflex. But what if we've just been completely deaf to the actual conversations happening right outside our own windows? Let's start with Section 1, the 2,000-year assumption. Even if you crack open a modern biology textbook today, you're going to find that a lot of them suggest animal noises are just natural, involuntary, reflexive responses to things like hunger or fear. Human language, on the other hand, well, it's specific and targeted, right? We use our words to paint incredibly detailed pictures. So the big scientific question here is this: is a bird crying out because it's simply terrified in this vague, general sense? Or is it actively trying to tell its flock something incredibly specific, like the exact type of danger that's approaching? To scientifically prove that animals use language, we don't just need to find specific words, we absolutely need to find grammar. Think about the phrase, dog bites man versus man bites dog. They use the exact same vocabulary, but they convey completely different meanings entirely depending on the order of the words. So if Professor Suzuki was going to prove birds have language, he had to prove they have syntax. Which brings us to Section 2, the word for snake. To hunt down this syntax, Professor Suzuki spent 2 decades studying a specific species called the Japanese tit bird out in the lush Mount Asama region. And just through careful observation of their daily lives and their natural predators, he started noticing these distinct, repeatable calls. For instance, he identified a sound we can roughly translate as pitsby, which basically served as a general predator alert. Then there was gidji, which sounds almost like a little shaker, and that was a command to gather friends together. But then, on June 10th, 2008, he heard a totally new call, jar. And he noticed the birds only ever made this highly specific sound when a dangerous Japanese rat snake was crawling nearby. But the question was jar really a specific noun for snake, or just a general panic alarm for any predator on the ground? To prove jar actually translates to the specific noun snake, Suzuki used this fascinating psychological concept called mental misidentification. Let's say I tell you a vague, blurry shape is a dog. Your mind naturally fills in the blanks and you picture a dog. If I say it's a cat, you instantly picture a cat. A specific word forces your brain to generate a specific mental image. So Suzuki wanted to know, if a bird hears the word jar, does it immediately conjure up a mental image of a snake? So he sets up this genuinely brilliant experiment. He played the jar sound through a hidden speaker to signal that a snake was nearby. Then he tied a rope to a stick and slowly dragged it up a tree, mimicking the exact slithering movement of a climbing snake. And when the birds heard the sound, they didn't just panic randomly. No, they actively approached the branch and intensely investigated the stick. Over 4 long years of iterating on this experiment, he definitively proved they had formed a mental image. Jar wasn't just raw emotion, it specifically meant the noun snake. Moving on to Section 3, the rules of bird grammar. Okay, having established that these birds actually use specific nouns, Suzuki started looking at how they combined these calls. He discovered that the tit birds often run into this dangerous, carnivorous bird called a shrike. Now, a tiny tit bird has absolutely 0 chance of fighting a shrike one-on-one, so what do? They combine their words. They shout pitsby, meaning alert, followed immediately by jiji, meaning gather. They were literally stringing distinct concepts together to form an actual sentence. To verify this, he recorded this combined call and played it through speakers out in the forest. Hundreds of times, birds would fly over looking for danger, finding nothing but his speaker. But, taking it a step further, he placed a physical model of a fake shrike on a branch and played the combined recording. And he watched in absolute amazement as the birds successfully understood the sentence. They heard the recording, knew exactly what it meant, gathered their friends together, and collectively mobbed the fake predator to chase it away. The sentence translated perfectly to, be on alert and gather together to fight. Section 4, reversing the sentence. But hey, remember our dog bites man example from earlier? To definitively prove this was strict grammar and not just two random panicked sounds mashed together by accident, Suzuki had to test if the order of the words actually mattered to the birds. Using audio editing software, he took the exact same recording and simply played the words in reverse. Geeky first, then Pitsy. When he played this reversed audio to the birds near the fake shrike, they did absolutely nothing. They completely ignored it. And this provided the conclusive evidence the scientific community needed. Birds possess strict grammar rules. If the syntax is wrong, the sentence loses all its meaning, exactly like human language. Section 5, cross-species eavesdropping. Suzuki quickly realized something even more profound here. This grammar isn't just understood by the Japanese tits. The implications spread across entirely different species. He went to a park in Tokyo to film tree sparrows, a completely different species that shares the exact same habitat as the tit birds. First, he played the tit bird's word for gather, hiji. The sparrows on the ground completely ignored it, just kept on eating. But moments later, he played the tit bird's specific word for a hawk. The effect was instantaneous. The tree sparrows immediately abandoned their food and took flight right into the safety of the trees. They were actively eavesdropping on and understanding a totally different species' language. Which brings us to our final part, Section 6, talking to animals. This cross-species understanding strongly implies that complex communication is incredibly natural and widespread in the animal kingdom, while humans have just been sitting at the top of the food chain, kind of totally ignorant for millennia. We assume we are the only ones having complex conversations. But as Professor Suzuki beautifully points out, the secret to unlocking the language of the natural world isn't necessarily a supercomputer or some highly advanced AI. What we really need is our own careful, curious observation. We need to stop assuming animals are just making mindless noise and start actually listening to them with intention. We want to leave you with this final paradigm-shifting thought. If we finally know that animals are speaking in structured sentences, and if different species are already eavesdropping and translating each other's grammar, how long until we learn how to talk back? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep your ears open next time you step outside, and I'll see you next time.